This is Friday Night Fever Afterburn, sponsored by Arena Comics and Gaming.
Welcome back. We have
fault.
some natural sound. Yeah. Welcome back to week 7 of Friday Night Fever Afterburn. I'm Karli Koskovich.
Delaney Vega here.
And I was over on the beach for Arnold, so we'll get into the highlights in a little bit. But there were not that many games for week 7, I feel like. We had a shorter
list.
Yeah, but we'll show you all these scores right here, and we're gonna start off with the game I was just at, which was Walton and Arnold taking that 28-21. I heard the Braves had a little comeback in the second half, but it was just not quite enough. And then we have Franklin County taking that one with one touchdown, 42-35, and then Liberty County and Weewa doing a little 42-0, and then Port St. Joe and Rutherford over at Tommy Oliver, and Port St. Joe took that 54-20.
Nice. Oh, and then we have last night's game, Mariana coming over to Tommy Oliver for North Bay Haven. Great game coming down to the last 2 seconds, 17-14. Bluntstown staying undefeated, like everyone kind of expected, 58-6 against the Sneeds Pirates. Graceville taking their first win
of the year
after 2 years, technically, because they didn't even have a program.
No, you're
last
right.
year.
I don't know the last time they had a win.
Yeah, so 42-15 over the Vernon Yellow Jackets, and then Choctaw, who's a program, as we've all talked about before, over at South Walton, 38-6.
Yeah, I don't know if it was fun to be over in Santa Rosa Beach tonight, but anyways, talking about the other Walton, the game I was at. So we actually have a special guest, and I want to introduce head coach of Walton's football program, Jay Lindsey. Coach, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know it was a tough night tonight, but I feel like you still do you want to kind of just talk about some post-game thoughts? I feel like you said, you guys had a little comeback in the second half, but it just wasn't quite enough.
Yeah, we started a little slow. We had a pick six on the first possession, and they have a good player. You know, their corner receiver's a phenomenal player, and he made a good play. So we sort of got behind early, and we just got off to a slow start, to be honest with you. I was proud of the way our kids battled back in the second half. We gave ourselves, I think we outscored them 14-0 in the second half. Gave ourselves an opportunity to have a chance, you know, and that's what you asked for, and we just came up a little bit short. But we got a young team, and they're continuing to, I want to say I feel like we got better this week from the week before. So that's sort of what we're focused on with our youth, is just continue to get better.
Yeah, no, for sure. I do want to ask you, do you think if that pick six did not happen, it would have been an entirely different game?
Yeah, there's always things whenever you lose, you always go back to a few plays here and there. That's just part of it. Whenever you win, sometimes you lose sight of that. So I think it's been a perspective this year where we have went back to a few things, make mistakes, but not at the same time, we want our kids, playing hard and moving on to the next play.
Gotcha. Do you have anything to ask?
We can get into that.
Yeah, we can get into those highlights, and we'll see that, yes, it was homecoming night for the Arnold Marlins. There were a few football players who were in that lineup, but we'll get right into that pick six we were just talking about. It was, that's actually the next play. We have Sincere Williams lined up in Wildcat. That was new. I haven't seen that one before. And then we have Witten. He's going to try to look long, but yeah, it's picked up by Darren Elder, and he's just so athletic. You can do, he's a threat on both sides of the ball, you know.
I've heard that name several times.
Absolutely. And yeah, I really think this play was a big factor in just how tonight went. And then later on, so Arnold kind of got off on a hot start from that play, and they ended up putting some touchdowns kind of just quickly, I would say. And then all of a sudden, we had this nasty play. And I want to know how you felt when that interception in the end zone. That was
a big turning point. Tristan
Powell, yeah,
and he comes up in big moments. So that was a big play for us. We also had one that we returned for a touchdown, and it got called back. So that hurts, but that's part of the game.
Yeah, I feel like honestly, I saw a shift in kind of your guys' excitement as soon as that. Tristan Powell caught that ball, and I want to know kind of, did you see the fire in the boys a little bit? Because shortly after was the touchdown by was it? I apologize. I literally just looked at that because it was shortly after the touchdown by number 1. Eli. Yeah. So that was kind of a shift
I think everything football-wise is a game of momentum, so players have to make plays to sort of turn things around. I was proud of some of our players stepping up in moments tonight and being able to make plays to be able to put us in the game.
For sure. And I have to ask, what did you say at halftime? Because obviously that was the big turning point as well.
The biggest thing is just sometimes I think whenever you go through rough stretches, not only in football but in life, you do lose confidence. And the biggest thing is I want these kids to know that we believe in them, and we know that they can get the job done and just can believing in what we're preaching, and we're only going to get better, as long as we stick together and we play together and we believe the same things, it's going to turn at some point. When that point will be, God's in control of that. Our job is just continue to work together as a team and believe in one another. So the biggest thing was just saying, hey guys, you can do this. I believe in you, believe in each other. Let's just take it one play at a time, instead of worrying about a score, being down about something, just play one play, and then we'll focus on the next play. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one play at a time.
I really think it's important for people to remember that this is a brand new team, that you're new, your offense is brand new, and that takes time. We are in week 7, but yeah, it's probably going to take a couple years to fully get. Do you think that fully get a
a culture for the program?
Yeah.
Set an attitude maybe?
Yeah, we're going to focus every week. Our job, no matter who we play, we're going to put ourselves in position to try to win that game, and we're going to believe we're going to do it. But then at the same time, I think you do go through some growing pains whenever you do lose, a lot of experience. I never really thought about that going in because I'm a competitor, you know what I'm saying? And the expectations are the expectations. That's what we put on ourselves. But at the same time, when you do have youth, a lot of that does have to go. You do have to get confidence, and you do go through some growing pains. But I've seen these kids improve. I believe in them, and in the long run, they're going to be better because of it. And whenever it does, click, and it is going to click, it's going to be a force to reckon with, I do believe.
Yeah, and you talk about growing pains and things kind of clicking. I haven't seen too much of y'all play yet so far this year because this is my first season. But someone who I don't see really going through growing pains is Sincere Williams. I know that's a name that gets tossed around a lot.
We talk about him a lot.
I've only seen him once in the South Walton game, and he was nuts at that game as well. And he seems like he's constantly always on the ball. Do you see that kind of where he's clicking really well as well?
Absolutely, yeah. He's a sophomore. We probably started about four or five sophomores tonight. I actually thought about it where we started, 5 seniors, so we have 17 underclassmen that were on the field. So that is definitely a bright spot, and we just want to give these seniors, the best possible year they can have because they've worked their butts off and they deserve it, and I'm proud of them. But then at the same time, getting these young guys are getting experience this year that normally you may not get in years where that's only going to make them, better. Hungrier, and they're gonna know what it takes to win at not necessarily win, but of course I'm going to use that word, but to play at a high level and the expectation, because if you were in a situation where we were returning a lot of people, some of these kids would be playing JV, and then they're playing on the the big lights right now. So it's been a great experience, and like I said, whenever it clicks, and that's what we talked about post game, just keep chipping away. Because whenever it clicks, it's going to be fun. You're going through a rush stretch, and I think we all, the good thing with these kids is they're learning a good life lesson right now at an early age, to where, hey, you got to get back up and you got to continue to work. You got to believe in yourself and believe in the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Do you want to get into the next game?
Yes, that was my game.
That was your
over at
game.
Liberty County, and I noticed John Brock did comment. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's nice to formally meet you. I had a great time over at Liberty County. We went Hitchco's over here, and that was a first interception, I believe.
Yeah, because then right after is yeah, we know what happens right after this.
And then right after it, this was a nasty first quarter, a lot of back and forth. He's gonna go ahead and throw, and boom, another interception. That's Bailey Cox running back up the field, and this first quarter is just gonna stay scoreless. And it's not until the second quarter when we actually start seeing some motion, and that's Gavin Mayo running up the field. That kid is really fun to watch. I'm not sure if you guys have ever seen him.
I've seen him a couple times. I feel like whenever we talk about Liberty County, it's Mayo, Lolly,
Yes.
Har.
Yep.
Those are kind of the names that
Yeah,
go
but
around.
Har was finding them pretty well, and like you said, that's Lolly right there sticking a foot in just to keep that in play, and a great catch right over on the sideline. And they're going to go right back to him, a handoff. Lolly's going to run it into that end zone in that second quarter, and that was actually a low-scoring first half. They're only going to hold him. It's only going to be 14-0 in the first half, and then by the time they make it into the second, I don't know what happened, but it ended up being 42-0. That's Matthew Lolly again, I believe.
Number
going
12.
all the way up.
Yep.
Yep, going all the way up the sideline. He was crazy. One thing I will say is Liberty County's couple of guys in their defensive side, Pace McCaskill, Huckleberry Smith, I think his name is, those were Weewa Hitchka's worst nightmares, I think, tonight. Those guys were insane. They were breaking through that O-line constantly. I would love to see how many tackles they had tonight, like as an actual stat, because they were just all over those Gators. You know, it was hard for him to have any time behind his O-line. He was not getting the ball off of him very well, and that's not really his fault. Those guys were just going nuts tonight.
No, for sure. I do want to ask you I'm not sure how much your experience. I know you guys don't play Weewa or Liberty County, but just kind of making a game a shutout. What does that mean for how does that happen? Like I know obviously how that happens. That's
Sure.
a crazy way to say it, but I'm trying to think of the word like for the defense. What does the defense need? That's kind of what I'm trying to
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it takes all 11 doing their job and their responsibility and playing together, number one. But, that's always a goal. We call it a goose egg.
Goose egg.
You want to get a goose egg. And I think anytime a defense does that, hey, there needs to be a reward because you don't see that a whole lot. So that's people playing together to me, doing their responsibility. And then, you get the confidence. And as soon as you get to the third or fourth quarter and you realize, hey, they haven't scored, you do have that chip to where you want to have a shutout, whenever you're on defense in that situation.
Ah, that's a great perspective. Yeah, has that ever happened to you? Either side, honestly.
Yeah, technically, week one, Mariana did score 7, but it was we had a misexchange at the punt late in the game. We sort of put them in position, so we had the opportunity to sort of get one, but we didn't.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, especially nowadays, the way football has changed to where it is, in favor of offense somewhat. And, a lot of people have cool stuff they do offensively and they spread the ball around, so it's made defense to where, the old days of where it's 7-0 or 7-3 or somewhat out the window, to where you're really trying to hold people to about, I'd say 14 or 17 is usually
For
your
sure.
goal defensively. So if you give up, a scoreless game, that's definitely credit to defense.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you understood what I was saying. I was struggling finding the words for that one.
No, I think they were definitely struggling to try and get the ball off them. They opted a lot for running, and they were just not carving up the field very well, I will say. I mean, you never know. I think that was only the first time, maybe second time I've seen Weewa. I saw them play North Bay Haven.
They're
weeks
small.
ago.
I mean,
Yeah,
obviously.
it's a small team.
Yeah, Liberty County's quite small too, but I
Yeah.
just think
That was one of the smaller teams. I noticed when I was on the sideline that I wasn't standing next to a whole bunch of people like
Yeah.
I was used to, and I was like, wow, these teams are pretty small. All these guys are playing almost 3 ways at that point.
yeah, it's a rural schools out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of fun to watch, though.
No, for sure. All right, let's get into the other game we had tonight. It was Port St. Joe and Rutherford.
Yes.
Oh, we can do this one. Whatever. That's fine. Do you want
Franklin
to?
County Cottondale. Oh yeah, so I was not at this game. I actually haven't seen either of these teams in person. But what I will say, I was introduced to the Collins brothers by Karli Koskovich herself. who did
Yep.
a story on them, and I will say Trayshawn Collins had a night tonight.
He's an
playing-
animal.
He is an
He is an animal.
Well, here we are on the other side of the ball. However,
But to
oh,
be
that
honest,
was an
Franklin County is
interception as well.
also a very good team, and I've said that a lot.
Okay.
So I'm not surprised they gave Cottondale I'm not surprised they gave Cottondale a game.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, we just saw that
There's
interception.
Trayshawn
There's-
Collins
yep.
right there in the end zone. That kid has got hands for days. I mean, if I had a receiver like that, I would just
Big time Division I player.
yeah.
No,
big
for
time.
sure. And he has a brother. Yeah, both of them. That's so number 2 is Traymond and number 3 is Trayshawn. The Collins brothers they're just incredible football players, incredible athletes.
Odell's it in the back. Odell's it one arm.
And do you
flips it
guys
in.
want to hear a fun fact?
I would
Okay.
love to.
Here we go. The Collins brothers are first cousins with Amari Thomas on Bluntstown.
Wow.
Where is
you go.
this athleticism coming from?
It's
it needs
running
to
through
be
their veins
it needs
now.
to be shared. I think that's anyways. But yeah, no, I also here we go with a Trayshawn touchdown, but I want to also talk about Franklin County and with Sadiq Jones, their running back, and then Owen Juno, who is just now starting for his first season. He's a senior, and I really think they're a very good competitive team. I haven't been out to Franklin County too much. I just haven't been able to. I would love to. Look at John Cooper. He's so excited. I love Coach Cooper. But they're not someone to forget about. They're not someone to overlook. And I definitely think, like, as postseason comes, people need to just kind of keep them in the back of their minds.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
Franklin
this was
County,
only their second loss.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
and that's
so.
that's a perfect example. I mean, I know both those teams are quite small, but I know that Franklin County has the history of having the Carabel kids, and I apologize. There's another school out there that I'm not familiar with, but I know those schools shut down in recent years, and then they all came to Franklin County, making more of a powerhouse. So that's kind of the history behind it. But I think, like I said, keep an eye out for the Seahawks.
I want to say yesterday I saw on Twitter, congratulations, Coach Cooper. He had a baby. I did see on Twitter. I think it was yesterday.
Congratulations, Coach
Coached in a
Cooper.
football game and had a child. So
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Ah,
Wait, that was yesterday? Did you say that?
I saw it yesterday,
saw it
on,
yesterday.
on
Okay.
X, not Twitter, but X. So
X,
yeah,
of course.
that's a big thing.
Very recent. Congratulations.
yes, and I know sometimes he tunes in because he does little comments, but I don't know if he's in there tonight. But if you are, congratulations. It's really awesome. And yeah. So now we could get into the Port St. Joe and the Rutherford game that was at Tommy Oliver tonight. And I'm not sure if it was homecoming, but it doesn't matter. Anyways, so right here you can see that Rutherford loses possession of the ball. It actually ends up in a fumble, and it makes me kind of sad. But Port St. Joe recovers that right in the end zone, and there you go, touchdown, Tiger Sharks. And it was just, I'm not really sure if Rutherford numbers, skill-wise, I think Port St. Joe was a really tough team for them to face. And I know, obviously, as we get closer to postseason, everything, everyone wants to be tested, and everyone, especially in week 7, so you still have time to kind of iron out those kinks. But you guys played Port St. Joe, or you have not yet?
We did not play Port St. Joe.
Okay.
We saw them on film. I think their first game they played Holmes County. We played Holmes County, and they've improved a lot. They
Yeah.
put up 54. Holmes County has a very good defense, but I think it was like an 8-0 ball game early in the year.
That
so
was
to
the-
see that number 54 is very impressive from an improvement standpoint. For
Well,
Port St. Joe.
against Holmes County, that's when their quarterback QB1, Jacob Hensley, broke his ankle. So somehow they figured out this ongoing wildcat, this Eli Harris running back now being the quarterback. But I think in the next couple weeks, he's about to come back. Jacob Hensley was only out for about 6 weeks. That was kind of the original diagnosis, and that was in week 2.
Okay.
So
So we'll be seeing that.
I
And
hope we see that
I know
soon.
that they had a couple of guys go down relatively. I know you said Corbin Butts went down one game, but he ended
got
up
hit really
reappearing
hard.
again against Liberty County.
yes,
And since then, I think they've just kind of been on this streak. I think they're clicking really well.
yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen too much of them, but it looks like they run up the field pretty decently. Those guys seem pretty big as well.
They've got a good sized team. I'll give it to them. Yeah, the size is there. Numbers is they're not the biggest team, but yeah, no, they have some good numbers that they're quite competitive. So I do want to get into some extra plays we have. There was one play I wanted to talk to you about, and I'm not sure if you know which play that was, but you will in a second. It was probably the most amazing field goal fake I have ever seen.
That was a touchdown I was talking about. Callback, wasn't a pick. Yeah.
So,
We've worked that for the past
if you-
3 weeks.
Yes, I look at this.
I really want to.
Okay, I know.
They call the blind
Yeah,
side.
so I know that this looks a little weird because it's slowed down a little bit. We're gonna show it one more time.
That hurts.
But this was incredibly well constructed, and I don't know. I want to see you guys do it again.
Oh, no, yeah, we'll have to come on. Oh, that just makes me sick because that's a touchdown. I don't think we didn't recover. We ended up not scoring on that series, and it was the perfect situation we set up to where if we have a longer field goal, you know, we were going to call that play. I wanted to call it last week, but it was just a torrential downpour, so we really couldn't do it. So
Yeah, we have some other plays, but
you know, anytime you see a trick play, I think what coaches see is you work those throughout the year. So we've been working that all year, and then the opportunity presented itself, and you know, I was expecting it to execute whenever we ran it because we worked it, but unfortunately, you know, we had a penalty and it got called back, but it was a good play.
my thought was, no way he's going for a 36-yard field goal, and then well, he didn't, but
It was one of those. Technically, we had the tight end on a corner route, and then the H-back, I guess I can call it, but the wing back was in the flats, and Robert decided to throw the flats where we've been hitting the corner route all day in practice. But, I mean, yeah, it worked. Unfortunately, it was
you think things like that happen in the game of football, but do you think, no, we're not even going to go back and see what could have, woulda, shoulda. Like, I was just thinking, if that obviously was a touchdown in my brain, I was like, oh, this is a touchdown, and then the penalty, but was the hit, could it have been done differently that you could have?
You know, I think we watch that every day on Saturdays and Sundays, and you know, I know definitely at the higher level they try to teach those kids, but I mean, I watched LSU starting linebacker like the first play against Florida get called for it, so it happens. It's part of the game, somewhat, if you agree with it or disagree with it. I mean, it's about health, safety of the kids and all that, but in the heat of the moment, if you've ever played football, it's very tough to tell a kid to let up whenever he's just giving 100%, and you know, he's trying to make a play or make a block. Yeah. But sometimes I definitely didn't disagree with that situation because it takes 7 away from us. But then at the same time, officials sometimes have to make judgment calls. That's their job. So, you know,
I understand
it is
that.
what it is.
And I hope the Arnold player is okay. I'm sure he probably got a little
and I don't think it's anything blatant or cheat.
No,
you know?
no.
I just think
it was just what
part of the
happened,
game,
for
and
sure.
football is a collision sport, and you know, in a split second, a kid's got to make a decision, and sometimes it happens. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
Well said. All right, let's get into some of those other plays.
Oh, the North Bay Haven.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're so in tune to Friday Night Lights. We forgot about Thursday Night Lights.
Yes.
Let's go back into
Thursday
that. That's
Night Lights. I love a Thursday night game because I'm able to stay for the whole time, which is nice.
Yeah.
Mariana starts off pretty strong. They end up on this drive putting up the first 6 points of the game. I'm trying to remember exactly what happened last night. But off to the races, and they're going to be taken down just short, I believe, of the goal line, and they're going to finish it off. He fakes me out a couple times.
He's
so
a freshman, right? The Mariana quarterback? I'm pretty sure he's a freshman because they were trying to figure that out earlier in the season. But
one thing I
don't
will
quote me on
say,
that.
Caleb Mazinski, once he gets his arm on him, once he's able to find his receivers pretty well like he does, he finds Tay Brooks very, very well. He's under
He
a
wants
lot
one of his own.
pressure. Yes, he wants one of his own. I will have to say, in favor of Mazinski, I do think he's under a lot of pressure a lot of the time. I do think his O-line could help him out a little bit more, and he's constantly rolling out of the pocket, but it seems like he does decently well once he's under pressure. There he has a little bit of time, but he's going to roll out anyways, and this was my favorite play. Jackson Horn leaving 2 defenders. He's got double coverage on him, and he's leaving them behind him. They end up finishing off. This is the 2 seconds left field goal. They were on a 2-minute drill in that fourth quarter. And they drive up that field with that.
Tyler
throw to
Bullock.
Jackson Horn. Yep, Tyler Bullock finishing us
I
off.
think that's the MVP of the game right there with Tyler Bullock. Look at how excited they are.
I will say Tyler Bullock missed a field goal prior to that from a shorter distance.
He had to make it up. He had to do it better.
Yes.
He had to win the game
so
with
when
it.
when they called for another kick, for 2 seconds left, you could feel the stadium kind of hold their breath for a second for him. But hey, the kid did it. So,
The kid did it.
The kid did it.
They
17
took the
14,
win.
you can see that.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Pretty low scoring game, but it was honestly fun to watch. So.
Are you surprised of how this game ended? I'm curious.
You know, I know, I respect Coach Glover. I've known him for a while. You know, they're going through a little, a transition somewhat period. But North Bay, I'll tell you what, they've went through, just me keeping up with the area. They've had a rough go round at it. So I think for them, I think they've won 2, I want to say.
Three now.
Their third,
Three
yeah.
now, like 2 or 3 in a row. So, I mean, what a great job for their program and their kids and their community, to be able to experience that. Because I think they went through a long, rough stretch where once again you stay the course, good things happen. So I think that's that they should be proud of their effort.
Yeah, I really feel like Mariana and North Bay Haven are just in polar opposites right now, and I just think last night, it was from what I've seen, that was a really intense game. It was pretty exciting.
And someone in the comments says North Bay Haven, that was their first ever win as a program over Mariana. So setting history while they're
They're
doing
making
it.
history.
That's their second record.
Yeah,
That they've broken this year. They broke
This
their
team is
score
making
record
history.
with 60 points in a game, and now they just broke kind of a record. But
to be honest, I bet you they also broke the record of having the most amount of coaches in 2 years. I say that with love because that means something. And now that they're actually on this come up, they went through all of that. And so I want to see them keep breaking records.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. So go Bucks. I think that's wonderful.
And they're gonna see Rutherford next week.
That'll be a good game.
That's what I'm thinking.
Is that a
as
Thursday
well.
night game or Friday night game?
Friday, I believe.
Okay. Tommy Oliver. All right. Do you want to get in? We can get into some next week games then.
Yeah.
Since we're
let's
talking
go
about it.
for it.
Okay. So we have Jefferson County visiting Sneads, and then Mariana at Leon, Vernon versus Holmes County, and then Port St. Joe versus Chipley.
And then Dixie County, that's the first I've heard of that.
Yeah, they're
Over at Bluntstown. Bluntstown, the last of the undefeated in our area, so we'll see if they can keep that running. Freeport over at South Walton. I think that'll be pretty good.
That's gonna be a game. I bet you one of us will be there.
Yeah,
That's gonna be a game. Tiza and Arntz. Oh, Tiza and Arntz. I did an interview with Arntz over the summer, and I accidentally framed him to where you saw the South Walton. He's like, I'm not doing it. I was like, okay, fine. I'll move the camera. So, but that's going to be an awesome game. And then Graceville and Osceola Christian.
Yes. And the North Bay Haven Rutherford, like I was talking about, I think that'll be a pretty good game as well.
I do think so. I think so too, especially with how hyped up the Bucks are right now. They're
Heck
like,
yeah.
let's keep going.
They're on a roll. I think they're getting pretty confident now, which is good. Which
Yeah.
is good for them.
All right, Coach, you want to read this page?
What's that?
Do you want to read this page of games?
Oh yeah. Want me to read them off?
Do it.
All right, we
After you.
got Pensacola. Of course, we have Pensacola Catholic up next week. A district game. It's been a good run past 2 years with us being the same district. So we've had a good games against them. They're a tough opponent. They're one of the better teams in the Panhandle. So we'll come up with a good game plan. Be ready to go. Bay versus West Florida Tech. That's probably for a district championship, I would imagine, in 3A. And then I know Bay has a talented roster this year. We played West Florida, and they have somewhat of a senior, experienced group. Arnold, Fort Walton Beach, both tough programs, I think, on the rise. I think Arnold has overcome a lot this year, and I think Fort Walton Beach has done a good job turning things around. And we will Hitchcock in Franklin County. Be honest, don't know too much about them, but I know Franklin County's done a pretty good job, here of late.
Yeah, awesome. Good job. All right, and then I'm not sure what this last page is, but
Cottondale versus Liberty County.
yeah.
That's correct. That is correct.
Okay,
Cottondale is
Cottondale versus Liberty
County.
County. We do have the Arnold logo there, but that's okay.
Yes.
It is Cottondale versus Liberty County.
And then Thursday night game.
And then our Thursday night game, we have Destin and Bozeman. Destin and Bozeman on Thursday night. And, but other than that, I feel like, do you have any last words?
No. Not really.
Thoughts, maybe some thoughts going into next week, what
Yeah.
you're hoping for, what you're preparing for?
Next week, we're just preaching, just staying the course and just getting better day in, day out. I know it's just coach talk, but that's really, we're focused on Walton right now, and putting our kids in the best situation to be successful and staying together and just getting better each and every day, win the day. Good things are to come if you keep believing, you keep working hard, and we're just only going to continue to get better. We're going to try to focus on ourselves and really not talk about the opponents too much, sort of take that, the Nick Saban,
love
Kirby
it.
Smart type approach to where, you always want to stay at a certain level and your standards are your standards, and let's stick with the process instead of talking about opponents. Because whenever you talk about opponents, I feel like you're just sort of up and down. You get, the kids know big ball games, so you don't really have to put that extra pressure on them, to me as a coach, because they know whenever they know who they're playing, they know when they got to show up and that type of stuff. So, in my mind, we just focus on what we can do and clean up some things, but then at the same time, put kids on the field that want to give everything they got and continue to get better.
I love it. I do want to ask you, you're week 7 at Walton and head coach. And so what is your favorite part about being the head coach of this program 7 weeks later?
Man, just the kids, to be honest with you, I think early in my career, I became a head coach at 28, so at that time it was just win-win, and I'm an ultimate competitor, but seeing these kids grow up because we are so young is going to be maybe a growing pain right now, but I think from a longevity standpoint, it's going to be a lot of rewards that come with that whenever we are playing kids that are going to be with us for the next 2 or 3 years, that you're going to really be able to see them shine at some point, at the same time. I think we have such a phenomenal staff, that I'm able to lean on. I love being around those guys. I just like coming to work every day, work with a great administration. I think we have the best principal in the state of Florida, to where she does a great job at our school. So it's just a special place, it's home. So it's, every day's enjoyable, even whenever it's tough. You look at ways to get better and what you have to do. But, coaching is a calling. And whenever you feel like you're not working, just like y'all enjoy what you do, it's always a pleasure.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome. Well,
Thank you.
It's also exciting to see, like you said, you have that young roster going through growing pains. I'm excited to see this in 2 years, when all those sophomores are now seniors and you have a couple years under your belt as well. I feel like that program's going to be really, really fun to watch.
Even
Absolutely.
Witten, he's a junior. You still have one more year, and he's really good, and I can only see him improving as he grows up a little bit and just has another year of experience.
Yeah.
So
If kids keep the right attitude and they continue to do it, they'll just continue to improve, So it is about development. I believe in development, and as long as kids do what you're asking them to do, we'll keep trucking.
Awesome.
perfect. All right. We can use those as the last words then.
Words of wisdom to finish us off.
All right. I'm Karli Koskovich for Delaney, Vega,
Thank you.
and Coach Jay Lindsey.
Awesome. Thank
join
you
us
so much
next
for
week.
joining us.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for having me.
All right. Thanks,
Have a
guys.
good night.